Uptown has garnered an amicable reputation since its conception as a Chicago neighborhood. Still, the name suggests a nicer, developed area that mirrors the best that Chicago has to offer. Historically, Uptown had the honor of being one of, if not the most diverse Chicago neighborhood. However, this title may be fading away as an effect of shifts in policy.
Together, we have investigated 3 interlinked issues that continue to plague Uptown.
The issues we have sought answers to resolve relate to homelessness, education, and crime.
We ventured out to the heart of Uptown and spoke with a representative of One Northside. Organizing Neighborhoods for Equality Northside is a mixed-income, multi-ethnic, intergenerational organization that works to empower and enable residents to eliminate injustice through bold community organizing. Ebony DeBerry, the education and community outreach organizer, helped detail some of the concerns that the community holds and the work that her and her colleagues have accomplished.
Ebony was extremely forthright and specified the failures and successes that have shaped the current climate of Uptown.
Off the bat, Mr. Berry made one thing clear. Uptown has a revenue problem. Justifiably, without the proper funds, it can be hard to make sure that work is being done.
To no surprise, One Northside has already claimed victories in all of these categories. Ms. DeBerry was kind enough to share some of the data relating to the organization's successes. Just in 2016, One Northside preserved 1,262 units of affordable housing. At local schools, they held public teachings about tax financing and fought to keep a school bus route that had been cut. And, impressively, they closed 3 major corporate tax loopholes in Illinois that resulted in over $125 million a year to fund human services and public education.
These successes were impressive and painted a brighter picture of Uptown. However, there is still much work to do. We wanted to dive deeper and understand what issues are driving the political trajectory of residents. Ms. DeBerry informed us that there is still a heavy gang presence in the area that has definitely had an effect on public safety. She believes that the presence of gang members can be closely tied to joblessness. This has driven some desperate individuals to rely on selling drugs to make ends meet. In her own words, she says, she doesn't think enough is being done about it.
Ebony had many thoughts to share regarding the unique challenges public schools in Uptown face. For starters, homelessness greatly impacts the education system. As the neighborhood becomes gentrified, diverse families are being pushed out. When a family moves out, they take their kids out of a school district and enrollment rates go down. Lower enrollment rates also result in a decrease in funding, and this further results in skewed per-pupil financing. Another issue that Ms. DeBerry brought up was school choice. The local community high school, Uplift Community High School, is underutilized and not considered the local community high school because of school choice. Uptown schools are also under constant threat of being closed. In fact, Ebony mentioned an elementary school, the Stewart School, that was closed in 2013, and the space is now being converted into luxury apartment units.
An adverse effect of the lack of educational opportunities for Uptown youth is the influx of crime. Instead of being in schools, some of the youth in this area turn to crime. Though Uptown is not considered one of the most notorious neighborhood areas in Chicago when it comes to crime, it is home to the conservative vice lords, the Black Gangster Disciples, and the Black P-Stones, 3 of Chicago's most notorious street gangs. Every now and then, the violent side of Uptown crosses over into the peaceful side, putting everyone at risk.
Intersection in Chicago's Uptown neighborhood.
4 people were shot. The oldest was 57, the youngest just 19. Kate Kogiran is live where it happened. Kate, what do we know this morning?
Well, investigators say this was no random shooting and the suspects had a target in mind when this happened just last night. Let's take you to some video right now. It happened at 8:15 near West Wilson Avenue and Broadway. Chicago police say the 4 victims were standing on the sidewalk near the CTA stop when the 2 men got out of the car and started firing several shots at the victims. Now, police have not said what led up to the shooting, but Alderman James Kappelman says gang violence in this area will not be tolerated.
We will not stand for this type of violence. It's senseless, and we're going to work together to make this community safer.
All 4 victims were taken to Illinois Masonic. Police say there were 3 men, 1 woman. All suffered gunshot wounds in different parts of their body. We're told 3 of the 4 victims are expected to be okay. We are still waiting on an update of the condition of the 4th victim. And at this point, police say no one is in custody.
According to the Statistical Atlas, the chance of being a victim of crime in Uptown is 1 in 33, while the chance of being a victim of violent crime is 1 in 125. Also, according to the source, the occurrence of crime has gradually increased between 2015 and 2016. Another reason for this is due to the lack of mental health clinics. Many mentally ill people end up in county jails, rather than getting treatment in the clinics that they need. Uptown has one of the highest concentrations of mentally ill people in the city of Chicago. A lot of these mentally ill people end up homeless or in county jails.
Ms. DeBerry informed us that there has been a loss of homelessness services. This loss is a result of an ongoing war that has been accelerated by policies supported and pushed by Alderman James Kappelman. He has received heavy criticism and backlash from organizations like One Northside that have fought for the right of homeless people to exist. Kappelman has pushed back against low-rent cubicle hotels and criminalized homeless behavior via ordinances.
Homelessness is one of the many obstacles that students in Chicago public schools face. More than 20,000 students in CPS were homeless in 2014, according to the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. A quality education unintentionally becomes less of a priority when families are forced to leave their home and move to keep a roof over their heads. CPS uses the term students in temporary living situations to refer to students who lack a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence, whose primary nighttime residence is a private or public space not designated as a regular sleeping accommodation, and who are living in cars, parks, public spaces, or similar settings. The Board of Education of the City of Chicago has a department called Students in Temporary Living Situations that services homeless students in CPS schools. This program aims to protect the education rights of students and to help their families. There are several benefits of this program. These benefits include school-related fees being waived, qualifying for after-school tutoring beyond what is offered for other students, receiving free uniforms, free school supplies, free school meals, and low-cost or free medical referrals. The sad reality is that these resources are often not being used by students because staff is unfamiliar with the policies. While CPS already requires that schools have liaisons for homeless students, many school staff members are not familiar with how to assist and advocate for these students. I propose that this department take their efforts one step further by educating parents on what services are available for their kids, training educators on how to assist these students, and making sure that this information regarding these programs be made available in other languages.
Policies aimed at accommodating disadvantaged groups in order to get them the resources they need should continue to be implemented if you want to see crime rates drop. Additionally, in order to curb the influence of crime in this city, unemployment rates must decrease. Currently, the unemployment rate in Uptown stands at 6.9%. As Ms. DeBerry explicated to us in our interview, another major reason for the occurrences of crime in Uptown is the lack of people prepared to hold jobs in this new economy. Those who are unemployed and are struggling to seek employment should be enrolled in training programs that can better prepare them for today's economic climate. Organizations like Cure Violence, formerly known as Ceasefire, are working on helping specific disadvantaged groups to acclimate to society by working with these individuals and getting them the resources they need to positively contribute to society. Violence interrupters in this organization work on the street, mediating conflicts between gangs, and intervening to stem the cycle of retaliatory violence that threatens to break out following a shooting. Outreach workers counsel young clients and connect them to services in order to help them find jobs, get back into school or a GED program, or disengage from a gang. If more members of the community benefit from these resources, then we will see a decrease in crime rates in the future.
In Chicago, housing can be extremely expensive. The cost of living is so high that it is driving residents out and choking impoverished individuals to higher levels of poverty and, in some cases, homelessness. One Northside has been diligently working on fighting for these individuals and are pushing for housing policy that is inclusive for these populations. We should challenge the narrative surrounding the homeless and aim for creating affordable housing that responds to the demand for a real, holistic solution. Communities should invest in SROs, single-room occupancy units, and the preservation of these units. SROs should be engaging numerous people such as the owners, tenants, the city, and developers. This way, we can eliminate shady business practices and preserve housing for those who struggle to find it most. Also, the Chicago Housing Authority has been stashing away hundreds of millions of dollars in reserves while families are on wait lists for affordable housing. Enforcing the use of the agency's resources is crucial in creating equitable housing and making sure that properties aren't left purposefully vacant. Increasing oversight and regulation for this incredibly important agency would be a monumental step in housing fairness.
We drinking beers.
I didn't say that. Smile, you on candy camp?
I'm too tired to smile.
No. Oh, you went today?
Yeah, I went to work. Oh, tired.
I like that haircut, man.
Thank you.
It makes you look like a soldier.
A soldier?
Are you a soldier?
No, I ain't a soldier.
Not yet, anyway.
No.
All right.
Not in this one.
You got a great voice up in here. Hey, man, I thought you were ready to leave.